My wife's very helpful. Very helpful.
Live.
Thank you.
Josh, are you going to have dogs on the show tonight? That would be fun.
Probably.
From the sounds of it.
We're going public from unlisted.
Don't sweat it.
Save.
It's fine.
Okay. I was dumb and didn't save any of my settings last week either, so I did remember to enable hardware encoding for the stream, so it should be okay this time.
All right, give me a second here to move this data over.
Greetings to anybody watching this.
All three.
I need to pull up the chat.
Yep, sorry about that.
All right, Jeremy, we should be live on the site here. Second.
Mute.
Hard refresh.
Right now, you should be seeing it.
Indeed.
All right.
You have done the thing.
I love it when a plan comes together. Hannibal from the A-Team.
Bing.
Oh, sorry. Let me mute that. My bad. Muted.
Did you mute your Max notifications?
I muted this. The notifications from my computer would be in my headphones.
I don't know.
Say a lot of stuff is in my head.
Apple makes the only computers I've ever known that will not always default to the headphones you have plugged in and still play it through the built-in speaker sometimes.
That may have been true. I don't think I've experienced that in a while, but I imagine it might be possible.
Like you still detect that there's headphones plugged in. Yes. Then why is it still going to the internal speaker? No. Yes, there's no news. Of course not.
I think I've seen that in laptops.
Anybody tuning in tonight, you've been jebaited. There is no graphics card news to talk about.
I want to be jebaited 24 hour ago.
All right, now's the time for everybody to crack their fresh drink for the evening. Someone has already noticed my special guest for the evening.
Oh, your Amiga?
It's actually in there.
I want to be jebaited.
It's valuable. See, Josh had a valuable thing to show last time, and now you have a valuable thing in a box to show too.
I suppose so. I think
genius.
I think we're probably going to hold super chats in order for me to open the box or something. No, I'm just kidding. We won't do that.
Okay.
We won't do that.
It's fine. The saddest thing, it's when you find out like there's a connection to some of this hardware that you can get it from. And my father-in-law had an Amiga 500. He was an Amiga guy. Didn't care about Windows. And he had given that one away. I think he must have upgraded to a 1000 or something. And I was like, oh,
1000's older.
He's like, I just gave it to, my wife's sister. Like,
yeah.
So, okay. What did she do with it? I don't use it anymore. Oh, it was junk. I threw it away. So literally, an Amiga 500 in the box was thrown in a dumpster because it couldn't get online and she didn't care about it. So,
that's
the fate
sad.
of most of this stuff, I think.
Did you let her know all about it?
I didn't want to talk to
Did you go over the economics of
I did not
her
want to talk to
decision?
my wife's aunt. It's like, I'm the idiot who passed up on the chance to buy one in a box a couple years ago for like $380. I'm like, $380? I'm not paying $380. And good luck finding one for anywhere near that now.
This one has actually got a Fat Agnes in it, 1 megabyte chip. It's got an 030 coprocessor board in it with a math, also a Math CoPro, and Josh is giving me the universal sign for you are talking too much.
Well, Josh, first of all, when it comes to verbose hosts on this show,
Yeah,
you
glass
make a
houses.
good point. You do
Yeah.
make a good point.
but Brett, I don't know that having it all tricked out and pimped out like that is necessarily going to make it more valuable because it's the
You're
stock,
absolutely right.
the stock in box.
It's
like
this
that-
is not.
It's like that myth of the stock Subaru
Yeah.
tuner car. It just doesn't exist. They've all been screwed with.
No, you're right, and I tend to do that without knowing what the future value of something might be. I tend to
You
kind
don't
of
care.
own something,
You just don't care.
and then modify it. I modify it to like make it better or make it more to my taste or whatever. Be that a car, a
Wait,
house.
to the taste? That's al dente, right?
Yeah, it is. That's Italian
Okay.
cooking. By
I'm
the
going
way,
to start recording.
that's excellent. Let's do that.
Okay. 641. I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about more graphics card paper launches.
Well, it wasn't exactly a paper launch because, people around at multiple retailers said that they've received more stock with this launch than they have in pretty much any other.
Yeah.
But Josh, it's still gone.
But that's not saying much.
That's not in the U.S., though, is it?
Micro Center received tens of thousands
Dozens.
or thousands.
Tens of
Yeah,
thousands
they-
across 50
they
states.
doubled it.
Well, not 50 states, but however, 17 states that they're in?
Brett would know. I'm not the Micro Center expert here.
I haven't swung by recently, but I'll stop by tomorrow and let you know.
I'm sure they won't have any.
They won't have any.
Probably not now.
Although the beauty of the 6600 XT launch is that cards can be priced as high as $579 at retail.
Wait, hold
We're not-
your water.
We're not
That's gonna
talking.
be-
We're not talking third party yet. That's gonna double that.
That's our very first.
I was not
exciting
chosen
topic
for the
today.
Newegg Shuffle today.
Oh,
This is shocked.
you didn't get a
face.
chance to pay too much for
Over-
some crappy hardware.
Yeah, but
Hey,
you know what?
they had
I'm all for
MSRP.
1080 gaming.
Didn't they? Didn't they have one at MSRP?
They were all at
Yeah.
MSRP.
Okay, let's start the show. This is. Wait, I'm sorry, distracted. Okay, in 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. We've reached episode 641. They said it couldn't be done. They said 640 was enough for anyone, allegedly, and then denied saying it. But we can't deny that we're doing another show, and I'm rambling. I'm Sebastian Peak. Let's introduce the rest of the cast. They can
Jeremy
introduce
Hellstrom,
themselves.
I think.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm going to be Brett Van Spernberg tonight.
Okay.
Still,
I think you play the Brett Van Spurenberg role rather well.
it's a skin.
It's an
Comes
archetype.
naturally.
It's a PC per archetype now, and I can't think of somebody who could do it better than you.
Thanks. I think
I can barely talk tonight. I need to drink some more of this water.
we're going to have to talk about the foliage. By the way, we're going to have
This plant is featured in both of the graphics card reviews that I did. I cleared all this stuff off, disconnected everything, moved the mic, unhooked everything, which was a horrible mistake. And then the plant is still here. So I'm like, you know what? It's not completely covering my face. This is probably an improvement.
I think you should leave
Well,
it.
you know,
there.
back in
I
the
do.
day, Wendell pretty much always covered his face up.
I want to
mean,
do that.
think about it.
I want to become eventually as confident as Wendell obviously is in his most recent videos now. The awkward silences.
Yeah, we're
are
supportive,
priceless.
aren't we?
I like Wendell. He's been on our show.
He's
Who doesn't
Wendell's
like Wendell?
great.
He's a character.
I mean, he will actually sing into the camera, without a musical accompaniment or a backing band.
And do
So
poetry.
that's-
And then show off
Yes.
his really embarrassing keyboard collection.
it's not. How is that embarrassing? Toilet
It's not
seat.
Have you seen
Look,
the stains?
Toilet
it's
seat
eclectic.
covers are a little
It's
weird,
eclectic,
but
but it's
They're a little
not
odd.
the keyboard
Nah.
collection, I'm all
no,
about that.
That's fine. That's fine.
I just like.
Yeah, but what's collecting in the keyboard is...
Well,
Well,
that may be a bit gross. I mean, there was a
Questions
Reddit
you
post
don't
I
want
saw
the
the other
answers to.
day that were asking people like, "Do you remember cleaning the mouse balls?" And I'm like, I remember reading a story of somebody putting them in their mouth, and that is the most disgusting thing I've ever.
Oh.
Heard. So Yeah,
well, when you're
exactly.
saying mouse balls, that just is.
That's not what I meant. I meant mouse balls.
You're not supposed to teabag them.
I feel like
Well,
I
we've hit the high note of the
Yeah.
evening.
I need
Well,
to
we could probably
wait for a
slide
good
down.
edit point so we can start the show up again. Right now we're in.
Maybe my wife could yell some more in the background.
It's like
That'd be
we're on a
awesome.
break right now. I just want to give you an idea of what I'm talking about with Wendell here. Hold on. This is the start. He was doing a video about coolers. I'm like, oh, okay. Like coolers for Intel Xeon. Let me go over to this camera. Of course, the sound's not going to work, but it's like, oh, he's going to unbox some coolers. All right. Why is this not playing?
Because you
Buffering.
restarted it.
Yeah, I'm using all the bandwidth.
Oh, yeah,
It's
you
going
are.
horribly wrong. There we go. So he's like,
That's an awkward pause. Pause.
he's like, that's
He's a-
meme number one for this video.
He's a brave man. That is a
It's like,
brave man.
I want to
right
do
there.
stuff like that, but I'm going to start off by hiding behind this plant first.
No, I mean, but that could be you. That's your thing right
Someday.
now. Hiding behind a plant.
Could be me someday. All right, where were we? Oh, introducing the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey.
It's the PC Perspective
Hey,
Podcast.
let's get that boilerplate out of the way, shall we?
Yeah. Well, you can subscribe to when we go live for events like this podcast recording session by going to pcper.com/subscribe. You can help support the site at patreon.com/pcper. Brett, do we have any Patreon news?
You know that we do, and I just want to give a helpful shout out to, well, thank you for being helpful, I should say, to our latest patron, and their name is, I want to get this wrong, it's like Malafi AMC. I can't help but think that's a reference to like a stock of some sort, maybe AMC, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure what he means by that, but thanks for the support, and really appreciate it. So go
Yes.
AMC all the way.
Yeah, AMC
To the
made some
moon.
interesting looking vehicles.
That's
Classic.
They did. Like the Javelin.
There was the Pacer. The Pacer
Hmm.
was excellent. The Javelin also. AMX, great car.
The Eagle series. They were
Well, the
pretty
four-wheel
good.
drive one, Josh, I think had some merit to it. I think that's one of the very
Yeah.
first four-wheel drive sort of station wagon car-like, lifted vehicle from the factory.
Yeah,
So
I knew a gal that had
something.
the sport version, and that was a solid looking little vehicle, and it performed. And yeah, it was four-wheel
Yeah.
drive, so ran around in the
Yeah,
snow
pretty
without
cool.
a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy's definitely into the AMC of old. I'm sure that's what he means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We need to move on
Yes.
to segment number 1. It's the most important segment. Forget graphics card launches. Josh, talk about
Me.
food.
Food. It's
Glorious
useful
food.
for survival. So let me pull up what this was, because my brain, well, it's anyway. Yeah. Let me see what I'm doing here. What's my tweets? So many
What is
tweeting during the
happening?
day. Okay, so
Jeez. Okay.
people,
Talk
listen
about
up,
food.
Finally, just pay attention to me.
Josh.
No, really.
Talk about food.
Let's stop beating around the bush. Let's get to what we're doing. The Sam Riggs burger. I don't know who in the hell Sam Riggs is, but this is unique. This is probably the first time I've ever, other than pineapple, have had fruit on a burger. And it's not an expected fruit. It's strawberries. Who puts strawberries on burgers? Well, apparently these people do. Sam Riggs burger, 2 beef patties, arugula, because not everybody can afford their arugula, caramelized onions, strawberry compote. Is that how you pronounce that? Compote? Compote?
Compote.
Compote sounds too much like compost. And let
I
me
think
tell
it's
you,
well-
from watching TV shows about cooking, they say compote.
I'm going to have to
Compote.
agree.
fine. Strawberry
Survey
compote.
says
Compote is
Strawberry
essentially
compost.
crushed fruit in a sugary water solution, right? Anyway, and then the balsamic reduction. I mean, who puts this on burgers? So you think that why would you want to put sweet on a burger, but then you put the balsamic reduction on top of that, and it just changes it all. It offsets that sweetness with the vinegar and the base, and then you really had the arugula and the beef come to the fore. And this was a shockingly satisfying burger. It was, I mean, I usually like spice on my burger. Obviously, no spice here, but it was tasty, and I ate it quickly because it was just so stinking good. The things that come together, maybe not in my mouth, but someone else's. But anyway, it's a fantastic burger, and I cannot. I mean, if ever you wanted to come visit Laramie,
This was
You
not
gotta go to
the
Boring
burger to
Ball.
start with.
they
Strawberries
now
and
offer micheladas.
arugula. You're like, oh, come to all the way to Laramie, Wyoming. Not for the naughty, not for one of the classics that I've had 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
For the arugula and strawberry burger.
Yeah, well, Sam
This isn't-
Riggs.
Do you live in
he's a
Oregon
genius.
now? Did you move
I did not.
to the Northwest? Is this okay?
Still locally sourced beef and buns. Don't know about the strawberry because they don't grow real well up here. But yeah, everything else was
Okay.
fantastic. It was an 8.3 out of 10. How about that?
How dare you? Igloo 2 in the YouTube chat. I
fairly
could do
exact.
without Josh's weekly burger. Well, you know what? We're not going to stop. Dozens of people probably
Dozens.
like this
There are
segment.
dozens of us.
Like 20, 25. at
Yeah.
least.
Ones of people have
Yeah.
complimented this segment.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to get into my questions. I wanted to know if it was if the arugula had been blanched, if it was still raw. So many.
Raw.
Why you don't call it rocket?
Raw arugula tastes like I just go out into an abandoned lot and just start eating the tall
Picking
green
weeds
stuff.
You know,
it's
but
like,
that's the
Well,
that
it's like
again.
peppery.
It offsets the strawberry.
don't put the strawberry on it. If you have to literally eat weeds and garbage to offset the taste of something, just don't put it on there. A burger is good. A bun is good. Fries are good. Why are you putting strawberry preserves?
Why are we listening to the vegetarian about
I don't care.
burger?
But
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
good, and the fries were good
You know-
too. So
all of his comments tonight are coming from behind a fern, so we could probably just miss. Just
but not
dismiss
two
most a lot
ferns.
of
There's
them.
only one fern here.
Right, your comments are from behind one fern. I
Yeah,
think we're going to
behind
label
one
it like
All
that.
right, can we
Yep.
let's
I don't know. Can we?
Do we ever
Yes.
want to?
No, I don't want to.
Okay, we don't
Oh,
really
Lord,
want to,
I've been
but we
signed
can.
out. Okay, hold on. Got to sign back into our ultra secure
All right,
network
let's just
here.
wait.
I literally get signed
Okay.
out every podcast
Standing by.
from the show notes. Okay. We talked about this last week. It happened shortly after the week prior's show. AMD announced the RX 6600 XT. So it's going to be their new, I guess we'll call it mid-range graphics card, but it almost seems like, I don't know what to call it. What were the cards? What were the RX 480 and 580 cards considered? Were they considered mid-range back then at $200?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were,
Yes,
they were
definitely.
mid-range,
Yeah.
200 to 250.
So modern mid-range, of course, is the price of last-gen high-end. I was remembering with fondness, almost. I never thought I would miss July 7, 2019. It was a stressful week. I didn't sleep probably a day or two before the launch because there was so much work to do because the Ryzen processors were launching along with new graphics cards. There was a new architecture. There was a lot of stuff to cover. AMD had us out for like the event, the Eddie 3 before this. So I'd lost. That was back in June. Why am I making excuses about that trip? But regardless, it was a lot of work to get that done. But the important thing is that was the era of the $399 high-end graphics card launch. 5700 XT announced at $449. Then, oh, JK, we just did that to jabate NVIDIA, as Scott Herkelman put it, and they actually launched at $399. for the 5700 XT, and they lowered the price on the 5700 as well. It's like $349. So those prices, I'd forgotten.
So
I was shocked.
Let
when I
me get
looked at
this
Xfinity.
straight. Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
You're saying that over 2 years, you're paying the same amount MSRP for the same performance.
Yes. Isn't that
But
amazing?
you increased your efficiency, right?
True.
Oh, dramatically.
Dramatically, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how much do you care about saving 100 watts? Because that's what this is. Although you can't.
Well, if you're a miner,
Right.
Well, if you're a
yeah,
minor-
if you're a minor, then
Yeah.
F you. But
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
here is the first one. AMD sent along a graphics card for the launch, and it's super weird because AMD's embargo was up on the 10th at 9 a.m. You'd think, oh, give people a day to decide, read all the reviews, decide if they want to buy this on launch day. But partners couldn't release reviews until the day of launch. So we had a Sapphire card review go up today, even though I had already published an MSI review. So it was weird. Anyhow, they talked about how this was going to be a high FPS 1080p card. And if you look, we talked about this before, but just to rehash briefly, 32 compute unit GPU, only has a 128-bit memory interface. And the Infinity Cache is only 32 megabytes. And as you know, that is significantly less than the 6700 XT. So what does that mean? Well, it means we're targeting 1080p gaming performance instead of 1440p. What's interesting about this, Josh, is that
What's interesting about it?
this is Navi 23. This is a mobile chip, kind of.
No way.
And you get that impression when you realize, oh, this is actually only a by 8. And I look up Navi 23 to refresh my memory, and sure enough, the 6600M uses Navi 23, but it's got some of the, compute units disabled, doesn't have as many streaming processors, but this, I don't know why I didn't even have this on here. It's 2048. It's 2048. And this is a 237 millimeter squared chip.
So it's
7
pretty small
nanometer
for a
TSMC.
GPU.
Yeah.
It's like a quarter the size of the 6800.
It's not small
right?
for a mobile GPU. Think about it. What if
Oh.
you could take a mobile GPU and up the TDP a little bit and put it on, expansion cards that you can put a hefty cooler on and run them at really high clock speeds. And that's what this
just
product
increase that TDP from 35 watts up to 150. Some amazing throughput numbers.
does. Yeah. And here's the card. This is the first one. This is the MSI Gaming X 8G, which has a pretty substantial cooler on it. As you can see, it's got the cutaways in the back, the slots to allow air to pass through, kind of like an RTX card. And this has vertical fins, so you're still going to be dumping a bunch of air against the motherboard and out into the case.
Okay, I've got to make one comment here.
Yeah.
Even though it's a by 8 card, it fills out the entire by 16 slot, and so I'm just really confused by that.
Yeah, I know. It's
I mean, are those contacts just not connected to anything?
I gotta wait for the Gamers Nexus teardown. I didn't take my card apart.
Maybe it's just for stability's purpose to kind of fill up the slot so that it doesn't sag as much, perhaps.
Well, the
No.
other card I tested, which is going back to Sapphire tomorrow. This is one in my hand here. This is a super.
Say
light
hi to
card.
Ed for me, even though he
Okay.
blocked me.
Well,
Hi, Ed.
maybe I won't. It sounds like bad
I don't know
policy.
why. I mean, I never. I was positive to him. I said, Ed, you're doing great on the rowing. I'm really proud of you. You're doing exercise, and then suddenly you just cut me off.
Maybe it sounded like you were patronizing him. Like, ooh, good job on the exercise.
No, because
People don't like
we
to
both
talk
have
about that.
Concept 2 rowers,
Oh,
and
I
we
see.
were doing it all at the same time. And
Maybe
so
you thought you were mocking him.
Oh.
you guys
don't know.
invented Peloton?
No, you invented the world's dumbest design for a treadmill that had no guard on the back at all.
and they killed people. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
awesome.
mean,
Well, but
that's,
you're now allowed to purchase an upgrade so that it won't do that anymore. But the
That's
base
nice.
model still does.
aw.
Oh.
Hey, even though the card is only connected to 8X, it is designed to be, more PCIe 4.0, which has roughly the same bandwidth as
Well,
the
right. You don't want to
16X.
put this in a PCIe 3
Right, but it's roughly equivalent to PCIe 3 16X, which leaves more lanes available for potentially other devices
See, they
on
did us a
that
favor.
motherboard.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Well, you kind of
that's
try
what
and
it was.
look at it.
Okay,
There's a
this is the
positive
card,
way to look at
by
it.
the way. Here it is at Newegg. This is not a third party. It's sold and shipped by Newegg. The price is $579 plus $9.99 shipping.
Jeremy, I don't think you meant that. I sense that you didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Okay, just in case you haven't.
Seriously.
I'll briefly go over this because it's kind of important. The test setup has changed. So the GPU test bed is new, and I didn't use any old numbers, so I had to retest everything that's in this review from scratch. This is a Ryzen 7 5800X using the correct 3600 memory. It's actually that really nice G.Skill Trident Z Neo set. It's 32 gigs, 16 by 2. CL14 3600 DDR4, super low latency stuff. So the Ryzen is running with the 1800 F clock, and it's the Crosshair 8 Hero Wi-Fi board, but it's the latest BIOS 3703, which is AGESA V2. It's 1.2.0.3 patch C, which I'm sure is already out of date, but that's what I used. And it's Windows 21H1 build 19043.928. Freshly installed, all the latest drivers, including the press driver, which has now been released. It's 21.8.1 for support for the new GPU. But look at the results. Here's Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or Valhalla, however you pronounce that.
Walhalla.
The 5700 XT is about a frame and a half per second faster than this MSI 6600 XT. We're talking 94.5 and 95.9 frames per second. They're very close, and they stay close. They're right there with each other. Here's F1 2019. High refresh, yes indeed. Over 200 frames per second at 1080 Ultra in this game. And 221 frames per second from the 6600 XT, 224 frames per second from the 5700 XT. And the similarities are across the board, and they're at 1440 as well. In fact, things tighten up a little bit at 1440 in some of the reviews I've looked at. So definitely optimized for 1080, but overall, if you know what a 5700 XT can do, which is roughly a 1080 Ti level of performance, then you already know.
It was like a 1440p card, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of was, yeah.
I
You
mean,
know what this one can do. So 2 years later, and here's some power numbers just at the wall with a gold rated power supply. This card was pulling 290, total system actually was pulling 290. And this card has a 160 watt TDP. So the processor was pulling over 100 watts on its own, memory, storage, all that stuff, overhead from the PSU. The 5700 XT, 384. So almost 100 watts lower power draw with the exact same system and roughly the same performance. So it is a much more efficient card, RDNA 2 with this Infinity Cache. It's pretty remarkable what they're doing with what is essentially a mobile GPU. So, unfortunately,
This so needed to be a 329 or less card. So needed to. 128-bit
What's-
memory bus. Yes, GDDR6 is getting up there in price. But
right
everything
here.
else just screams. I mean, it's a mobile part. It doesn't pull nearly as much power, so you don't have to have the robust PCB and power delivery. They're making so much money. It's not even funny. And you know what? And I hate to say it, but maybe in 5 months their house of cards is going to fall on them, and they're going to have so much inventory because something's going to crash, and people are going to be selling these on eBay, and retailers are going to have a tremendous amount of stock, and then the demand has just been exhausted, and it's going to suck for them. Maybe that's just me being dreamy
Hopeful?
about. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I don't wish ill on people. They've worked hard. They should be rewarded for their work. They put out some really, really interesting products over the past year, but I swear to God, MBAs ruin everything. They do.
Hey, you want to know something that ruins my testing? This little Sapphire card that's significantly smaller and way lighter
Yeah.
than the other card, the MSI card.
So you're implying a lot less metal in the heatsink.
Right. I'm thinking this is going to not perform as well, and it's an MSRP card. This is a stock $379 card right here. The Pulse.
So
the
that's
Sapphire
not
Pulse.
non-OC, where the
It is
MSI one
slightly
was OC.
Very slightly OC.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
look at the performance. The Sapphire
Oh.
Pulse, when I tested it with the same drivers, leapfrogged, at least in Assassin's Creed, but I mean, we're talking 1 to 2 frames per second difference between these cards anyway. It had slightly better performance than the 5700 XT, and with the exception of Metro Exodus, outperformed the MSI card. So under load, it was actually maintaining slightly higher frequencies. It does have an interesting advantage, though. This card, the Sapphire,
Temps.
look at the heatsink. Horizontal fins instead of being vertical.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the
Which-
card sideways, like the
Okay.
fins go this way instead of this way.
What are you saying?
What are the
So air blows
Huh.
through the card, and a lot of it actually exhausts out the back. which is
exhausts?
unusual for
Gotcha.
a card that looks like this, but quite a bit of warm air was coming out the back of this card, and some still comes out these slots upward towards your RAM, but with good case airflow, I actually had a good amount of airflow entering the back and going through the card, so it performed quite well under
No, you
under load.
didn't.
I did.
No, look at the way the fan's going. It's pulling it all in and pushing it all out. You know
It's
what I'm
going all
saying?
over the place, but my theory is that, I mean, okay, for a card, what does this one weigh? It's ridiculous. How little this one weighs. I actually weighed it on my kitchen scale because it felt so light. Okay, this one is 21.3 ounces. The MSI card is over
that's less than
31.
the steak I ate last week.
So it's 10 ounces lighter than the MSI card. It's smaller. The other one's like 10 inches. This one 9.5. But the load temps were only about 3 degrees warmer than the MSI. But for some reason the performance is higher. I don't know.
Do you
Did
think
you see
that we're
anything-
kind of pushing these chips to the ragged edge? And I mean, all of the stuff that they've built into them to, retain a tremendous amount of performance by turning things off dynamically and adjusting power and all that stuff in milliseconds. Again, I think we're just at that ragged edge of what we can do with process technology. It's and I mean, you can throw more cooling at it, but unless you get to minus 40 C where semiconductors turn into superconductors, I don't know. I mean, is obviously a very bad cooling solution is going to have a negative effect. But if they're mediocre to well, the difference is going to be minimal. There's so many built-in factors about how each chip is run. And we're talking 12 billion transistors? Is that how many are in this frickin' thing?
11. I think. What is
Close enough.
Yeah, 11,000 million. So 11 billion.
11 billion transistors. Are you kidding me?
Yes. Technology is
How many
is like
ways
magic.
can you skin a cat? When you talk about 11 billion, that's a lot.
There's
Design
There's
is
really
going
something-
to become so important.
There's really something to
Anyway.
your cooling observation, because I just saw the GPU-Z clocks are actually lower
I know.
on the Sapphire.
That's why I'm like, you know what? I've got to return this card anyway. I'd love to retest everything if I had time, but I can't keep it. So I'll just retest
damn.
the MSI that we actually get to hold on to because AMD sent that one, and that'll be
Okay,
the
here's
the
what you need to
reference.
do. You get those cans at the dust off, right? And you start spraying it in there, and you're gonna super cool it all. And
Oh, like
plus,
turn it
you
upside
gotta
down,
like
do like
wear.
the tetrafluorethane, so
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
getting really cold.
and plus you
Yeah,
gotta wear
that's
some
super-
mittens
yeah.
because that can is gonna get
So-
real cold.
This is
real
like
fast.
Yeah.
the cheesiest
Yeah.
alternative to liquid nitrogen you can imagine.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
And plus,
The other
you'll
thing you
feel
should
really
do-
good at the end of it in a small space.
Yes, you will. The other thing you should do is grab a high lead pencil and complete those traces and see what happens.
I think so. I could turn this into a 6700 XT, even though it's a different GPU
Well, yeah.
entirely. Somehow. Although, no, I think this is like a full fat Navi 23, isn't it? I think
Yeah, it's a Navi
2048 is
23.
all there is. And there ain't any more.
Yeah.
Any more
So it's
on this
really just a question of keeping
launch?
it cool. You just have to keep it cool.
I guess
really. I
that,
think
in
that's
fact, a lot of those traces are not connected to anything. So there you go.
Yep.
Hence the pencil.
It's all dead.
Start doodling.
By the way, to sort of do a sanity check, I always look at everybody else's reviews the morning of. And I was very pleasantly not surprised, I guess, but I was like validated that almost everybody was seeing the exact same relationship between this card and the 5700 XT. Almost to the, it was like to the 10th of an FPS in some of the reviews I was reading at. Like, it's like, yeah, this is the same. It's almost exactly the same. It just depends on the game whether it's going to be tied or a frame or two ahead or below. So, like, that's kind of where things used to be. Every year you'd have last year's flagship level performance from the card below in the new generation. Like to use NVIDIA as an example, because the numbers are easier to remember for me, a 770 was a 680. It wasn't just like a 680. It was just a 680. It was the same architecture, same amount of memory, same number of CUDA cores. It was just called a 770 the next year, and then we had the 780 and 780 Ti up on top of it, and then so on and so on. So you would expect that a 5700 XT would become the 6600 XT next year. But it's been 2
Where do you think-
years.
Where do you think the 1080p value proposition is right now? You know, dollars per frames. What's your gut feel on it?
Gut feel.
Yeah.
Pricing doesn't mean anything right now.
Well, if it did,
You can't talk
if it
about
was
value
MSRP.
at all. If it was MSRP, it still
I'm trying.
sucks because the 5600,
Okay.
the 5700 XT launched at $399 2 years ago.
Yeah, but it's gone. It's gone. You can't buy that anymore.
Okay, you want to talk about value? Prices are supposed to go down, and performance is supposed to go up over time.
You'd
and
like-
I
yes,
understand
you'd
when
like
prices
that.
go up a little bit because of inflation, and that makes sense. But prices are completely out of whack because of all the reasons that we know, and they're just everybody's taking advantage of the situation. And AMD fans were probably calling for them to start charging higher prices when they were offering similar performance but always having to undercut NVIDIA. Like, they were very competitive but always the cheaper option.
Yeah.
And I was calling for them to raise prices on Ryzen because it was so it's the default option for enthusiasts right now. You don't build Intel systems unless you have some specific need to. They dominate laptops still because of agreements in place with laptop makers. Fine. What about DIY enthusiasts? That part of the landscape is AMD right now. They own it. So it's just a question of whether you're going to do B550 or X570 or what. That's it. It's not, should I go Intel or AMD for my next enthusiast build? That discussion is over.
Let me ask you this, though. Is there even a need for 1080p gaming now, even at high refresh rates? Because you can get a 1440p, 144 hertz monitor, good one, for under $300. Are they a little late in this push? Or, I mean, I don't know many people who are buying 1080p monitors. Maybe that's just, me saying, I hardly know anybody who voted for Nixon in 1972. But,
It's 80%.
the price is-
AMD's marketing shows the same numbers like the Steam survey numbers. 80% of people are on a 1080p monitor. That's what their excuse is for only having 8 gigabytes of memory after being the company that had 16 gigs across the board before.
Yeah. 67.2%, down by 1% this month.
Oh, okay.
And the multi-monitors are
I'm talking about
3840 by
new
1080.
clients, new people.
I assume
I know.
gains were
I
1440p.
don't know.
Okay.
Sure.
You on the one hand, you can say, yeah, gamers are at 1080p, the vast majority, not this 4% at 4K or whatever it is. No, okay. But you're selling an add-in board through your partners This is the territory of enthusiasts. This is the territory of DIY. This is not the 1080p territory. People who build their own PCs and spend $400 plus on a graphics card probably game at 1440 or higher.
You know, both my kids still use an RX 580 because it was a great card, and he does 1080 144. I mean, he doesn't do really heavy duty stuff. It's all, you know, Rocket League and League of Legends and whatnot.
Oh,
but
yeah, that'll reach that then. Yeah.
That'll do it.
but he's not going to pay $400 for a card, much less $579.
Josh,
And
he's
it's not
waiting
gonna
for you to
improve
buy
his-
it for him. You're going to buy it for him eventually.
Oh Lord, I already paid for insurance.
Give him that 3080.
cell
Give him the
phone.
6700 X, or you have a 6800 XT. Whatever
Nobody's
that Merc
touching
is.
that.
Hey,
Yeah, I
Give
still
him
have the
Merc, man.
Merc, and
Yeah.
I'm halfway through that.
okay.
I'm going to retest
No.
it.
You know what? Honestly, it
because
doesn't-
we're finally going to get to the point where you can maybe actually buy a
right.
6800
It's,
XT.
maybe it felt like
Yeah.
it was a late review, but really it was a timely review because when it publishes, you're actually going to be able to buy one. You're right.
Yeah,
When the
it's sad
7700
because-
XT is launched.
that is
Accidentally
no.
well-timed.
7700 XT is not going to be anytime soon. I'm sorry, they're not going to get 5 nanometer shit out here within the next.
What if it's
10
7
months.
nanometer plus plus? 7 nanometer
no,
plus plus
no.
plus.
TSMC doesn't roll that way. Come on.
They've made
They kinda
refinements.
You don't want me to get
They've
angry.
massaged
They-
the
they
process,
do.
Josh.
They do.
You would
But
love
that
me
means
to be
Their
angry.
yield gets better. Their yield gets better.
Yeah, well, my hands get softer with the more lotion I use, but that doesn't.
Okay, can we move past this?
I don't know. Can we?
I don't know.
Cannot unsee.
Probably
Cannot
not.
unsee.
I do want to. Is this the next topic? What? Let's see here. Yeah, next topic. Real quick. I miss Alan in general, but I feel like he would have had a lot of fun with a product like this. This was one of the most ludicrous things I've seen in a while. And Tweaktown had a review of Sabrent's Rocket 4 Plus Destroyer. When I saw Destroyer in the, I'm like, oh, clickbaity headline. No, that's the product name. It's described as 32 terabytes and 28,000 megabytes per second of awesome. It's a High Point RAID card
High Point.
with 8
Yep.
Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus 4 terabyte SSDs attached. These are PCI.
Let me
Gen
tell you,
4.
back in the day, High Point had the best RAID controller that you
Surely
could add
did.
to a motherboard for the price points. But anyway, go ahead.
That's
That's
fine.
that's
better,
insane.
It's better than Adaptec.
Oh,
Look at this.
yeah.
Look at this
You-
beautiful green
Josh, what about
PCB.
Dell Perk? You're forgetting.
Oh, I'm trying to.
Look at all those
No,
SSDs.
That was pretty bad.
No. 3Ware was who you really wanted to go to, but you paid a price for that.
I never had any boards with 3Ware, but I had High Point and then Perk.
Anyway, let's go to the insano
Let's-
performance.
Because when you have something like this, and I wonder how much onboard RAM there might be acting as a cache. Because some of these
Probably
numbers were
none.
so high, it sounded like RAM, but then as the reviewer pointed out, the speeds they were getting were higher than DDR4.
Yeah,
Which-
no, it's
Huh.
it's
Nuts.
okay. That is just a PCI 4.0 bridge in the middle there.
Okay.
Yeah,
That is
that's all it
doing
does.
lanes to each single one, and so you don't necessarily need a cache because each of the SSDs has its own DDR4 cache.
Yeah.
You just have to have enough capacitors so that in case you have an unexpected shutdown, it can still pass the data onto those SSDs that can then write it, and you'll be fine. Well, not really, but anyway,
Fingers crossed.
yeah, but no, I mean, in that situation, it's going to be OS dependent, and but probably the OS just sees it as a single by 16 controller.
Yeah.
Especially in RAID
Yeah.
0.
And
Yeah,
then
and
it
so
just
it's-
actually shows
it's
up as one nice
great.
little volume for you here,
Yep.
which they formatted
God,
as
30
just
gigs
yeah,
of
30 terabytes.
30 terabytes. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's ludicrous,
Oh, it is,
but it's
yeah, RAID 0.
awesome.
Okay, they did RAID
29,000
0
gig, but yeah.
with a 512K block size using the High Point software. So yeah, they did set it up. And look at the
Yep.
just running.
Look
Christmas
at
Sparks,
that.
hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
28,513 megabytes per second sequential.
Do you know how
at
fast your
8.
games would load with that?
I don't know. Are games loading at?
But the
QD8?
random is not great.
no.
That random
No,
4K.
well, it wouldn't be.
No,
it's not
it,
designed
yeah,
for that.
because
It's designed for sequential,
it's all stream.
Yep.
and it's streaming all right.
And on the AMD system,
Yeah.
they had better read throughput as well.
Well, PCIe 4.0.
Well, the C590 board has PCIe 4.0.
No, did they use the Z590? Well, then
I thought they did. Why would on earth would they not? I have to go to the test setup.
You know, this is like the ultimate video editing storage.
Yeah, it was an 11th gen.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's-
that's
it's-
a good point.
But
Yeah, I mean it's not random access. I mean that's going to be problematic because of just the way. I mean, think about how it finds data. Random access is going to suck for SSDs, but throughput, boy, if you're editing, that throughput's going to be awesome.
hey, you know what has great random access? Optane.
Oh,
It's
I thought
faster
you were
than
going to go
Optane.
someplace else. Thank you for not mentioning that.
and almost more expensive.
I
I
think
just
it might
wanna
be more
say-
expensive.
I just want to say, I don't care about any of that. I just want this, and I want it now. Actually, I want it to have a real full functioning keyboard. Does it, or is that just a? Because this picture
it's
right here, we're
keyboard.
talking about the A500 Mini. This picture, I believe, is of an A500.
It looks like an A500,
not a
although
Mini.
that impression in the upper right-hand corner was not stock.
But
that
That's
they did not
the
have
mini
that.
right there.
Wait, does it have a slot
No.
or a floppy? On
That,
the
well,
side?
that's where the floppy was supposed to go. Yes,
Yeah.
but that A500 logo in the upper corner was not there. That's theirs.
I'm really hoping this actually has a keyboard. The A500 Mini,
It will.
which is coming, I think, next year.
Yep.
We've brought you a revolution
Oh.
in mini consoles. Because these are the guys who made the C64 Mini.
Yep,
So now the natural evolution is to go Amiga.
of course it is.
The Commodore Amiga.
Coming soon, the Trash 80.
That would not be a step up.
Authentic
No, it
mouse,
wouldn't.
it says.
Yep.
I can't believe they made that mouse as a USB. I mean, I might just want it just to plug into any old computer, actually,
Yeah,
just
the
to get that
rear has
retro
USB
feel.
ports. I'm guessing this is just running an ARM processor and emulation. for
Yeah,
the software,
perhaps.
but-
Can't imagine what else they'd use.
I remember playing this one
Especially at the price.
and the chess. I remember playing
Yeah,
that
Team
one.
Battle Chess. I want Lemmings. I want Lemmings badly, but
Oh my gosh, yes! And
but
Shadow of the
you
Beast.
can add your own games. I was reading, so
Thank goodness.
I guess if it doesn't have it,
Yep.
we can just add it. So it emulates the A500, A600, and A1200.
Oh, including
Save and
AGA.
resume
Interesting.
Progress. What's the emulator thing? Add your own games.
720p at 60
720p.
hertz. Interesting. Yeah,
like
they
this.
never really did that.
No, you don't say.
I like this
No,
retro-looking box.
It
too.
did not.
It's all
Well,
good.
we can compare it to the original.
It's all good stuff. Now, what Amiga do you have behind you?
I have a legit A500 in this box.
Oh, I see. Okay.
With a, like I said before, with an 030 board in it with a coprocessor and a Fat Agnes and a 1 megabit chip memory with something in the trapdoor, and including soldered on bodge wires when I broke something. So yeah, for the unboxing, we'll probably maybe have to do a special show some other
Okay.
time, where I plug it in and maybe use it
I mean, it's not
play
like
some games.
a real unboxing. It's like taking
No,
it out of
it's a
storage kind of unboxing.
Far used. It is a very used A500, and I enjoyed it a lot when I was modifying it and playing around with it and programming stuff on it. And, you know, learning C way back then. I had the Lattice C compiler on it. Nobody knows who that is anymore. But yeah, that taught me a lot about graphics programming and game
How
programming.
did
and
you look at JPEG
apps.
images on
Slowly.
We the Amiga had its own format, which I actually wrote a converter, actually programmed a converter using a Unix utility called XV at the time. I actually wrote the Amiga importer for the Unix XV system at the time. If you go and look at the source code of that, it has my name in it for the Amiga file format, the AIFFs.
Wait, AIFFs are Amiga?
What did you think they
yes.
were?
Well,
Atari?
IFF was made by it was image file format made by Electronic Arts, I do believe, for the original Paint program. I think it was Paint, and that was on the Amiga, and there was expanded to AIFF for Amiga format. Yeah, and I wrote the converter for the image viewer on Unix.
Well, aren't you special?
Well, it is sort of a mic drop moment, so I thought I'd take it.
Are you talking AFF or AI?
Well, it's suddenly pertinent
Congratulations.
again for the
You're
first
so
time
much
in 20
smarter than
years.
I am. It's not
Right.
even funny.
Sorry. AIFF is an audio format. It's Apple, like their
Yes.
equivalent of Wave. So you're saying
Yeah, but if-
AFF?
No, it was called AIFF,
Oh, well,
but this is a long time ago. So
okay.
And this was back when
It
Apple
was
was affordable.
1991, maybe
Yeah.
88.
It was before the second coming of Steve Jobs. All
yeah,
right.
as somebody else pointed out, it was the Atari ST era, so it was a while ago.
Ooh.
Okay. Well,
Oh,
I'll
the-
wait. There's not even a pre-order for this yet. I don't even know. We know how much it's going to cost. I think it's like $140.
You're correct.
Did 3DFX official send you this link?
No, but we'll talk about that after
Okay.
we pause to hear from this week's podcast sponsor.
Which would be LinkedIn Talent Solutions. Find your next hire fast.
We're back, and
Why would I want to find my next tire?
okay, we're gonna cut that
No,
part.
that's not
You wanna
tire.
drop that?
It's hire.
All right,
It's hire.
Tire? Spelled with a Y?
don't
You know what? This is
don't
where we
mock
all
the
get up.
sponsor. Don't mock the sponsor, Josh.
We-
Be
Haven't
professional.
you
We need to
seen
get-
them wandering free on the highway? You might want it back one day.
Everybody just needs to leave and come back. Just empty stage for 5 minutes.
All right, get it together. Okay, we're back.
Right.
And remember last week we talked about, for some time, we went on and on about 3DFX and like, oh, wouldn't it be great if they did come back? I want to believe. And I was the cynical, angry voice. I think I'd like to believe that I was extremely dismissive of this, because as it turns out, it was a bunch of hogwash all along. The big reveal turned out to be nothing. It was just some really contrived, lame humor. And then it went away, and the guy said,
There's a
"Oh,
word
I'm deleting
for it
this
in word
account,
culture.
but follow ATI parody for more, great content or something." And then the ATI
Something like that.
official parody account was also deleted after people were razzing this person over there, and they couldn't handle it. And then there's all sorts of whining, complaining about how people couldn't take a joke, and how he was persecuted.
Here's the thing.
and-
Yep.
Here's
And
the
then he
thing.
visited us and left a comment.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, nice. Here's the thing: is the potential is there? How many people have taken an old, abandoned logo and group, and then have done something with it to try to ride on those coattails? I mean, Vision Tech. I mean, they died, and then the current Vision Tech is a different financial group that grabbed that name up, and they still sell video cards and other things. They tried to do with Diamond. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody grabbed the abandoned logos and the stuff that they could get about 3DFX and release products based on it. But, initially it sounded like it would be they would get rebrand cards. They would take either from ATI or AMD, or AMD and NVIDIA,
Intel made more
and
sense.
to have a sticker version, but also go into like sound bars, get a cheap $75 sound bar, slap 3DFX on it, and sell it for $115. And it just, there are options out there for groups that do this stuff, and so it was not beyond the realm of possibility that somebody did this. It was beyond the realm of possibility that they would develop their own graphics chips in a short amount of time because IP, design, a mid-range card with 11 billion transistors. Nobody can do this anymore without a tremendous amount of money and experience and IP. So yeah, I mean, we were kind of looking at it. It's like, this would be fun, but yeah, it's probably not going to be that. However, there is an avenue if it's real. So let's dig some more. And of course, digging showed that nobody had actually acquired those images or copyrights, and there was no Jensen group in California that was, doing any of this, and so it became pretty apparent that it was a joke, and finally they let it all out, and especially CES they called CCS
CEC
in their press.
It was
CEC,
a hilarious keck joke.
Keck. So funny, but anyway, yeah, it was it was sad because we reminisce about 3D effects and back in kind of that golden age of 3D when it was really exploding, and I mean the fanboy wars were insane back then. It was absolutely nuts, but it was fun, and you kind of had a small taste of that coming back, but then it was just a guy pulling people's chains.
But yeah, no, if you slapped a 3D effects on a 3080, marked it up by 10 or 15% at the very least, people would buy it.
Yeah,
for sure. I think that's the
Stupid.
right market. I don't see anybody selling a soundbar with 3D effects on it. There's no. It's not like
Josh bought
Sylvania
fries with it on it, so why wouldn't
Josh is
someone buy
different.
it?
Josh
Yeah.
is part of the enthusiast community who was building PCs back then.
I'm sorry, not enthusiast, fanboy.
Okay, right. You
Fanboy.
beyond that, you became a fanboy of 3D effects. Yes, but the average consumer, they see brands like Sylvania and Westinghouse, which are slapped onto TVs, and they're like, "Oh, that's a brand I know because it's a brand that's been in stores since the 1940s," and they're just brands. I used to sell
Well, I've
electronics,
had friends
and the cheap stuff was
incredibly
always rebranded
upset.
garbage.
because they come over and I've got a Hisense TV. So what the hell is that crap? You bought some stupid ass crappy TV somewhere? I'm like,
No, well, I mean,
yes, that's it. Yeah.
right. It's not the company that makes most of the TVs. It's like if back in the day, if you
No.
bought something from Funai Corporation, like what is Funai?
Oh.
Like, the maker of
Wow.
almost all
Yep.
the department
They make
store
just
brands.
about freaking everything.
Oh, I
So-
remember when LG was that.
Yeah.
They're not that anymore.
Yeah.
No. Life's
That was
not good.
LG. Yeah.
Hey, you remember Gold Star?
1990.
Oh, yeah.
Lucky
Yep.
Gold
Hey, it's
Star.
still
That's
around.
LG. That's
That would be
LG.
LG.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so 3DFX not coming back. I feel like 3DFX is... This is not a great example. We mentioned Steve Jobs earlier. Remember his company after Apple? Next.
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 Oh,
sold-
jeez.
Next sold to Apple for some ungodly sum,
Yeah.
even though it was worth practically nothing. It was in debt, and they sold for like $500 or $600 million to Apple because Apple wanted Next Step. They were having problems with their operating system development. I think
Copeland.
BOS was going to be one of the solutions, and
It could have been.
their CEO at
That's
the
a chunk of the
time,
area I just forgot about.
their CEO at the time thought, I'll get two for one here. I'll get Next Step, and we'll bring Steve over as a consultant. And of course, Steve ended up kind of orchestrating a coup and took back over. But
He did look a little bit Borgish back then.
Yeah, but if any of those guys who got ejected still had stock,
True.
I think they're okay.
yeah, they're okay. My
They
point
may
Probably
have
is,
felt okay
okay.
about it. Yeah.
Next was fully absorbed by Apple. There's no Next merchandise. There's no Next Mini. There are people who were very enthusiastic about Next. It was an integral part of the development of the World Wide Web, and it was a really important platform back then. But
But I really like the cube design, and plus it was really powerful
they
and had
They,
Next OS.
well, It had some innovative, UI stuff in it. That's true. Hardware was tricky.
my point is, and I will not belabor this too much, but
Let's hear your
3DFX
point.
3DFX was gobbled up by NVIDIA. Apple gobbled up Next. These brands are dead. So when mega corporations have bought out a brand, I don't see those brands becoming the Westinghouse rebrand electronics with a sound bar. That's all I'm saying. I think 3DFX is dead until someone at NVIDIA decides, you know what, it'd be kind of fun to resurrect that brand. I think there was some bad blood between NVIDIA and 3DFX back then.
Mm-hmm.
And even though some 3DFX people moved on and worked at NVIDIA,
because Brian Burke and Derek, they had a knife fight in the parking lot outside of 3DFX.
We can't say this. We can't say this. We
can neither confirm nor deny that this totally happened.
all right. We have more stories. We have 2 more
but
stories.
not many.
Oh, really?
But not very many more stories.
We need to, because we've been going for about an hour now.
These are
Last
quick.
after I cut a lot of questionable content from the final version of the
That's
show.
what we do here.
Yep. Need for Speed. The 27th anniversary, a very important anniversary in everyone's lives. The 27th is the most important wedding anniversary, for sure. Just never forget. But
I think
somebody
everybody
added this
has
to the
their-
list for some reason.
I think everybody has their favorite Need for Speed game
Yes.
or not. Mine was actually quite early. Mine was like Hot Pursuit 2.
Yeah.
I actually brought back an older Windows box just to play this game for a few days, and it was so much fun. And the soundtrack, still very awesome. Loved it. And I think everybody had their favorite Need for Speed game over the last 27 years because they've had their hits and they've had their misses. Some of them have not been very good.
Hey, speaking
I
of
know Josh
3DFX,
Go ahead.
when you went from software rendered to Voodoo Glide in Need for
Oh,
Speed,
God.
it was a
Yeah.
different
It
game.
was so good. Everything was so smooth looking and high frame rates. And nothing was pixelated because bilinear
Right, that
filtering
was-
was magic.
That was the major thing. It was like suddenly the pixels are gone. What the hell's going on? This isn't a sprite.
Yeah.
Yeah. It suddenly the game looked like the cutscenes. Or a lot closer
Yeah.
as it.
Yeah.
It's
But I enjoyed
funny-
a lot of these games. Actually, a handful, not a lot of them, because they came up with so many.
It's funny that you mentioned Need for Speed 2, Brett, because LGR did a retrospective this year on just
Oh, I
that
didn't know that.
game. Yes.
I didn't know.
So check out, I don't know if you've heard of him, LGR on YouTube. And you can watch the full retrospective. And he goes from software to Voodoo, shows you the difference, talks about how that was the reason he wanted a Voodoo card back in the day for this game specifically. And it's a great review. He has a good channel with how many? 1.5 million subscribers now. That's how
Well,
big
they're coming out with a new
retro tech is.
game.
Small time.
They've been at this a really long time. I think that if this new game is reasonably successful, they'll keep at it. To get a lot out of these, though, you always need a fairly expensive piece of hardware. Have you guys priced a steering wheel with like force feedback and pedals and
Josh
shifter
has.
and stuff
Josh,
nowadays?
Josh
Yeah.
knows.
You can get a
Yeah.
reasonable one for under $200.
But it's really expensive to
Bushmaster
fully
T150
enjoy.
TMX.
It's just a really
Now
pricey
we're talking
edition.
direct drive stuff that's 1,500 and above, sure. But you can get
Yeah,
good
it's
stuff for below
amazingly
500
expensive.
bucks. Easy.
It's still pricey, and I don't know if people are still keyboard worrying these sort of things. I don't know, Josh. What did you have a favorite Need for Speed game? Did you play any of them?
I played the crap out of Need for Speed 2.
Yeah, me too.
It's the classic.
That was a good one.
Speaking
I
of
was more of a Carmageddon guy.
No. Porsche Unleashed was probably my favorite because
That one was
It
really
was-
good. Yep.
they worked with Porsche engineers on handling and physics and the different cars and what they did and how they reacted and suspension and all these extra. That was probably really one of the best
And
titles.
it took you
for
through the
Need for Speed
history.
ever.
You could drive the earliest ones, and
Yep.
you were capable of driving later and later models, which was actually a pretty cool progression, and how they
Yeah, it
handled
was
differently
fantastic.
and how they felt. Yeah, Porsche Unleashed, I think that was the name of it. Was really
Yep.
good.
All right.
PU, NFS PU.
Let's move quickly to our last story.
Moving.
Battlefield 2042. Jeremy, you wrote about this. Technical preview arrives August 12th. That's just
Do
that's
you,
like
do you
tomorrow.
like being an alpha tester? Do you like not being paid for alpha testing a game? Well, then,
anymore?
EA's got a deal for you.
Boy.
All you have to do is go over and sign up for EA, which you've probably done at some point, so you're just going to have to get your password back. And yes, the beta, it's sort of open and then you've got to apply for it. But from August 12th to 16th, you will be able to take a look at this and find out whether it's going to be great or a huge, incredible disappointment, or somewhere in between. I mean, if you pre-ordered it, there's another beta you can go for, but you didn't pre-order it, right? You know that that's not something you do anymore.
Don't do that.
Don't. And you'll be able to play it on that 6600.
Yeah. Or
I
even
mean,
a 580.
The recommended, yeah, well, the recommended is the
Or even a
RX
580.
580 or a GTX 1060.
Well, surprise
Interestingly,
with the
it's only,
1060.
yeah, only 50 gigs of free space, which is tiny now. Sadly enough,
1/3 of what it takes to install Flight Simulator.
and that's just the bare bones one.
The
So, yeah,
base.
If you pop over, you can. No, that wasn't Battlefield 2042 a decade ago. That was 2133.
Oh, so they're going back.
The one with the Skywalker move and the mechs and the.
Yeah.
It was not good.
I never actually played that one.
It
was
did.
that?
It
Yeah.
was.
I was
It was
given it,
almost,
but
but
they
not
shut
quite
it
as
down.
bad as Vietnam.
BFV.
I didn't like that one as
man.
much. I like. God.
There were 2 maps worth playing on it. The rest of the time, it was just horrific.
Yeah, but it had DX8 graphics, man.
It did
The
indeed.
water effects. And the forests. Jungle.
There were
Yeah.
a couple of mods that were really worth playing, and I can't remember the name of them, but there were a
Forgotten
lot of
Hope
people
was
playing.
probably the best mod for any of the
That-
Battlefield series.
Yeah.
That might have been it.
Forgotten Hope. And they really adjusted, like you play a Tiger in Battlefield 42. It's a really strong round, but of course, it has this huge, arc to it. And it hit things, blow it up, but you could avoid that arc so easy. And in real life, the 88 was straight line. It was a high velocity, high energy round that would kill things. And so in Forgotten Hope, they adjusted a bunch of the actual physical characteristics of tanks and weapons. So yeah, I mean, if you saw a Tiger coming up on you and you had a M4 Sherman, then you had to adjust your strategy to be able to get hits on him and not get hit by him. And so it was really, really, really a great mod. Played that for ages.
You remember Desert Combat?
Yep.
Yeah,
DC.
DC.
The original 42? Like, that was
Yep.
one that just,
That was one of my favorites.
Time in that.
I remember trying to fly a helicopter off of the ships onto the shore. You had to.
I
You had
made
to
it
time
once.
You had to time the button pushes to get the lift just right, and so that you could fly it over. And I had a twist stick at the time, or you could use the I think it was called the collector on the controller, that you had to map it to that. You had to get that just right to fly
Yeah,
level.
collective.
The collective. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was very tricky to manage.
All right.
But I enjoyed that one too.
That was fun. Let's move on to picks
Moving.
of the week. Josh, go.
I made the plunge. I did it.
Ooh.
I looked at different options, and now I finally, as just like, you know what, I'm just going to get the LG C1 OLED TV. Only the 55 inch. I don't really have room for 65 inch, even though I was kind of considering that. But that's a good chunk of change. It's almost $600 more for the 65.
Josh,
and I
Josh,
can
the
enjoy a
rule-
lot of things.
The rule with TVs,
What?
the rule with TVs is you will never regret going big. You will only regret not going big.
Yeah,
don't
but I
think I'm
started
really
with a
phrasing that very
48
well.
inch. And then I went to a 55, and that's been good enough for us.
The 65,
And so-
although I will say the higher up you go, the more you become used to it, and then 55 seem really small. So if you stay at 55, you're fine.
I'm gonna be
40
fine.
I was on a 47 for a long time. I went to a 55 and I thought, this is huge.
It
And then
is
my
huge.
65, this is massive. And then I had a 100-inch projection screen on the wall. Now the 65 looks like a toy. So
Anyway, you
There's
know
a
what?
thing
The
called
prices
limited
have
wall
gone down.
space.
yeah.
The prices have gone down on the LG OLEDs. The C1 is an excellent example. You may even get some of the Evo panels on there the later you buy them, even though you won't be able to access a lot of that functionality just because of what it is. But, you know, who knows? Firmware and mods and whatnot can get you up there. But I'm really looking forward to this. It's coming in tomorrow. It was a big treat after everything that has gone on over the past year that we have overcome. And so I'm
love what you've
really-
done with your space here. This living room looks
Thank you.
really
Thank you. Yeah,
nice.
no, this is my space in the future
Oh, okay.
It's like a studio, really.
because I haven't gotten my.
It's
my
like it's almost
OLED yet.
staged.
Well, I mean, the
Almost.
designer had to mock it up for him at his studio, but this is all being
Is it
installed
real?
tomorrow.
Is it RTX?
Yeah. Oh, I think this might be. I don't know.
Is this
That-
rendered?
Is that?
Oh yes,
Global
because everyone has
illumination.
Fresnels in their friggin' living room.
Well, I mean, Sebastian is the fern expert. He can tell us if those are
I'm
real
not
or
an
not.
expert. I don't
Those
even
are
know if this thing
succulents.
is
Yeah.
a firm.
Succulents.
So anyway, 1,500 is still a lot of money, but it's not horrible compared to what it used to be. So you're getting a really highly adjustable, flexible screen. You can do a lot of different stuff with, and it's up there with like the Sony X90J in many terms of functionality, but about $1,000 cheaper. So
And Sony sources their panels from LG. It's just different image processing. So
yeah.
Oh, really?
And
I
in
thought they
fact,
made
their
their own.
image
no,
processing
Sony does not
is-
make OLED panels. They buy them from LG.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and their inputs are usually worse. So
But it doesn't have
Just
a yellow
letting
pixel, man.
Hey, it does have a white pixel though. The
Okay.
LGs are
sure does.
RGBW, or really RGB and then just like white, which
Just
allows
blurry.
them to get brighter for those. You know, otherwise the only way to do white obviously is to have all of the subpixels on at the same time.
Right,
And
yeah.
You increase the intensity of white by having it. Although I don't know. I don't know if C1 still does. My B6 has the 4th subpixel.
no,
Okay.
the C1 it does. I think I've seen a picture and it's like, oh, now it makes sense now.
Jeremy, your turn.
I went for something a little bit less expensive.
Okay.
The follow-up to the Logitech C920 you're staring at us at, which literally is exactly the same thing except it's got a privacy cap on it, so you don't have to buy one. But what's usually $100 can now be yours for $70. And these things last forever and do a really good job. So the C925 or 20S, sorry, it's they're just immensely amazing cameras. I've been using this thing for forever. I ended up buying a second one just in case this thing ever decides to die one day. Logitech's been selling these for probably a decade now because they're just perfect, and you don't want to see us in 4K. It's really not a thing. But yeah, it's $20 off, and there's an extra $10 off with a code. So, and that's Canada. US might even be cheaper.
Wow. You know, the 4K thing, honestly, I've thought about doing it if we were all doing 1080p webcams, because then each of us, each of these little quadrants would be in native 1080, and the overall feed would be in 4K or UHD. So, I mean, think about it. But then we do the close-ups, and it would be alarming.
No, don't.
We will
Horrific.
stop doing the close-ups. It's like if you want a close up, just zoom in on your phone, and you can look at us in native 1080p quality manually. All right, Brett.
Yeah, I went with an audio pick this week, which looks like a really great deal from Klipsch. It's their 5.1 surround speaker system with a sub that actually has wireless capability here. Normally, list price on this is well over $1,000, $349 from Woot. If you don't have at least a 5.1 system, the reviews that people have posted on this are indicating that it punches well above its quote unquote weight for the size of it. This would be a really great entry level 5.1 system, and the price for the quality of the Klipsch system and environment, and the fact that you could wire up the sub, get it placed pretty much anywhere you need, and then it will work wirelessly. It comes with a wireless module for both ends, of course.
For just the sub?
Yeah, the sub is the only one that's wireless, but that's the one that kind of gets an unusual placement from a room placement.
Right,
I know the back channel is a little bit difficult sometimes as well, but the wiring for the front three is usually pretty straightforward because they're fairly close to your 5.1 receiver or whatever it is you're using. The sub end usually should end up in a corner, fairly far away, but in the room corner.
There's one in a corner, kind of tubby in there, but I know what you're saying. It's
but
the sub is 2.4 gigahertz, and it says CD quality, so it should be 1644. Then I'm guessing.
Now, it isn't the only way you can connect it. It's of course
92.
available as an option out of the box, but you can wire it if you need to or if you want to, LFE channel. But for the price, $349 for a full 5.1 system that's getting fairly good reviews is a pretty good deal right now, and it's
got a sub, it's got a mid-range and a tweeter, and I mean Klipsch makes pretty solid stuff. Even though they're 2.1 that is now $98 at Walmart, still is a solid sounding thing, and it much less than $250 back in 2000 when they first released those.
These are all the main speaker in the satellites as well as the fronts and all that are their metallic versions. So these aren't even paper cones; they're metallized versions. So, I don't know if that's an advantage or a disadvantage. I've never had metallics
Well, it
before.
supposedly makes it stiffer and lighter and less that they don't wear over time like paper
That
does.
makes sense.
And
Although
slightly
they
more
still
dog
have to have
resistant.
they still have to have a foam support in order to give them, the ability to move air and all that. So, I mean, that's the piece that I found that wears out most of the time. The cones are generally pretty resilient.
Yeah, the surrounds are what always go first because they start to disintegrate after about 20 years.
And poly.
That's one thing about
polypropylene-
the paradigms that I've got, that they don't use a foam. They use a different kind of poly that so far has still held up nicely, that I bought in 1998. Don't tell my wife.
There's all sorts
anyway.
of materials out there. It's kind of crazy. There's ceramic, there's metal, there's wood pulp, like wood infused paper cones, which is what I think Dolly does.
This is a reasonable deal if you're looking for a very easy entry into 5.1 sound.
That's good.
Yeah, Kevlar BMWs, but it's not this kind of show.
No, although I have a couple of BNWs actually, satellites.
I mean, you could buy a single satellite for the same price as your entire 5.1 recommendation.
Yeah, a pair of
that's on
B&W
sale.
bookshelf speakers is, I think, around 600 and up.
Yeah, I think I paid 500 for
Yeah.
my BNWs.
And they're okay. I find
they're
B&W
good.
to have... There's a different kind of sound signature from them, for sure. Right now, I'm into the German sound.
Oh,
I have
okay.
Canton
What do you?
speakers.
Oh, okay.
You know,
The Scheisse sound.
Canton's
That's what I-
sound
That's not
I
what he
was going to
said.
go there, and I didn't.
really, really precise. And the chronos that I have, Canon Chrono, like 508 or I don't remember what they are, but they're floor standers, 2.5 way, bottom firing for the port, more bass than they should be. They have way more bass than you'd think from a fairly compact floor stander, and they are. The clarity from them is second only to my Magnepans, which I do not have space to have set up.
The bottom firing on that port probably really causes them to resonate pretty well, especially in the bass.
They're
in
not
the
as
bass zone.
picky about
Very
wall
even.
placement because of it.
Right.
I don't have to have them really far out from the wall. Because,
Emphasis. Yep.
Yeah. They're hitting the plinth on the bottom and kind of dispersing the lower frequencies. But they have usable bass down to 30 hertz, which is weird for a speaker as small as they are.
30 hertz. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's low.
It's quite low. I mean,
That's
it's like
low.
minus several decibels from
Sure.
1 kilohertz, but it's still there. All right. That is our show this evening. And do not tune in next week because we're actually taking the week off. We are taking a week off. I repeat, no podcast next week. I will probably try to do some kind of weird, impromptu stream thing. I actually have a couple of reviews that are not under embargo that I could kind of showcase. There's a case I need to get to. The helicopter case from Thermaltake. I need to do a build in that. Lexar, believe it or not, Lexar sells gaming memory now. Lexar.
What?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
So they sent me some memory. Like, I couldn't believe. I opened the box. I'm like, I don't remember this company. It was, and then I opened it. I'm like, oh, it's Lexar. It's gaming RAM. It's RGB gaming RAM from Lexar.
And it's not just a bunch of SD cards glued to a PC.
I don't know. That's the thing. I'll have to do a stream and we'll be like, let's explore this together and find out what kind of ICs they're using, or is this just solid? Is this SD memory with a heatsink on it? But that's the kind of fun you can expect in the near future.
I mean, there's some people here questioning their existence by the time they reach next Wednesday. So please do fire up the stream and
Sure.
just
Yeah.
put a
I know.
just put a fern on the show.
I feel we have to do something every week, even if it's just me or whoever babbling for 20 minutes.
I did get the sponsor moved from next week, so we're doubling
good.
up the week after.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
Until then, thanks for listening and or watching, and have a good night.
Good night. Good night,
Good
all.
evening.
So that wasn't a short podcast. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah, we've been recording for an hour and 15, so it's not that bad.
Not
Yeah.
that bad.
Gone are the days of the 2-hour plus.
I only have a
podcast.
rash over 2/3 of my body. That's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Exactly. How long were you on fire? Well, really not that long.
Wasn't that bad.
It's hot.
After I realized that my USB preamp for this microphone was disabled in the control panel, everything was
Oh.
fine. But that's why we
Oh,
started
that's
the stream
a-
late.
That's an XLR mic, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I dug
Yeah.
this up.
Tell us what that does. All about
You
it.
It's a
dog bury
Cirrus
it?
Logic ISA. I think it's 1 meg. It could be half that.
Oh my God.
That's a controller card? Or is it an Ethernet
No, it's a
card?
VGA.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
I saw one online for like 150. It's like, are you serious?
Oh, I said
Yes,
video
they
cards,
were.
depending on what they are, could be quite pricey.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the questions in the Discord is maybe it's EGA. Are you sure it's VGA and not EGA? How many colors do
It
you
could
think
be
it has?
EGA. Yeah.
Could be.
I'll need to look up the code and
Was
Get my
EGA
magnifying glass out.
16 colors? What was EGA?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because it was
That's what I thought.
extended, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rainey didn't
Extended
show up
graphics.
tonight. The dogs have been mean.
Sebastian,
We're
what
trying
do
to
you
get
have
everybody.
for
I
show and
have
tell?
the, if I can get this in the camera,
Focus.
The
There you go.
Orchid Pro Designer
Oh,
2.
This
holy
is an
cow!
audio
1991. That
Is this
looks
an audio card?
pristine.
No, this is a video
No.
card.
Oh, video. Okay.
Sing Labs.
Yeah.
Is it the ET1000 or something?
Why am I so inept at this?
4000. The ET4000.
This Pro Designer 2 has the distinction of being on the list of cards that are compatible with PCs and IBM systems. So this actually has a BIOS that will work in an IBM PC and in just about anything else. I had it in a 386, but it's quite pricey on the secondhand market.
What does that run now?
The last time I looked, it was around $150 to $200. Why do I still have myself on the camera? All right, there we go. There's some expensive stuff behind me. And someday I will just have to let go of all of it.
Yeah, number 9. I mean, how's number 9 stuff selling these days?
It's okay. It's not crazy. It's not like Gravis ultrasound level pricing.
Yeah, number
Well, that-
9 was back in the early 90s. They were the video card king.
I remember the name.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Was it the word
Excuse
9 or
me,
the,
by the way.
digit?
Number 9.
Number 9 digit. Number
Number 9.
and then the 9.
Okay. Some of these
Number
are not
9?
too
They were big in
expensive
Apple.
right
Big in
Yeah.
Apple.
now. Okay. I have arranged highest first, and I'm looking at
NVIDIA used to be big in Apple.
I'm looking at some mattresses here.
Ooh.
Okay, that's not it.
Here we go.
That's,
Here's the first one.
Here we go. The number
Here's,
9.
somebody wants $230 for this 2
Oh.
megabyte ISA. Number 9.
Wow.
The number 9 AGP
The 9
cards are a lot
GXE.
easier
Oh.
to find,
There you go.
and these are not. Okay, let's
They
see.
seem to have a very
PCI.
similar price.
Yeah, PCIs are quite cheaper than the ISAs. The ISAs are rare. This one's PCI.
Rare. $100. 512 KB
Look at
PCI.
this. Look at this. Where is it? Past these generic pictures. There we go. The number 9 2 megabyte ISA card. $229.95. It's just it's an S3. Has an AT&T chip on it though. Is that the
Huh.
DAC?
That would make sense,
Modem
actually.
DAC or whatever.
What do you need?
Okay. Anyway.
I am, sir. I am just going to the cowboy thing.
Okay.
Bye.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Have
Love
fun.
you too, child.
Goodbye. Bye.
All right.
Take the dog with you.
Yes, all of them.
I have somewhere mention Kevin in the YouTube chat said he bought a number 9 specifically for CAD way back in the day. It's out of reach, but there's a new in box CAD specific graphics card that I got on a whim because it was super cheap. I'll have to look into that on a stream or do some kind of dumb review for it, but there are a lot of like high-end professional workstation grade graphics cards that don't support modern resolutions that work in old systems that you can buy relatively inexpensively. If you're into that sort of thing. If you're into tinkering around with old boxes and need graphics cards for them.
Do you have any together right now that are actually working?
Oh yeah, I have my main 386, which is an IBM clone from a small computer company.
Is it an SX or a full 386?
It's a 386DX.
Oh, DX.
Ooh.
That's the full bus width.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's a 16 or a 33.
Oh.
Was there a
Speed?
DX16 or was it
I
DX?
don't
know. It was
33. I don't think
SX16.
Okay.
Yeah,
DX33. No, DX25 and above. No,
Okay.
there may have been no DX20 was the lowest, I think.
Really? There was a DX20?
Yeah, 386 DX20. Let's see. Yep, DX20 megahertz.
I'll have to look it up. I'll have to boot it up and see what it is. I've got a Pentium system that's like the one I bring upstairs and let my son play old CD-ROM games on. It's a Pentium 166 non-MMX.
Oh, yeah.
I have an old compact with another Pentium 166 non-MMX. It's my Windows 95 machine. And then I've got the DOS machine, which is a 386 DX2. Or DX. Or is it DX2? Am I thinking of 486 for DX2? I don't know.
I think, wasn't it 486 DX2? I don't know if there was a DX2.
486 DX2. I'm thinking of a DX.
Yeah, definitely.
386 DX.
Yeah.
And then a drawer full of vintage processors that I could use on many motherboards that are laying around.
A drawer.
A drawer.
A drawer. What do
Because
we have
I
here?
got into this
Drawer.
mode where I had to have every variant, so I had to have the IBM Cyrix and the Cyrix, and I had to have
Oh, you have a 686
486s
as
and the 586s
well.
and the 686.
Yeah, I got one of them kicking around
Texas
somewhere.
Instruments and
Oh, TI ones.
I had to get the AMD DX4 as well as the Intel DX4. And then I was even on a hunt for boxed processors, which of course in that era don't really exist. But my oldest AMD processor in a box is an Athlon. It's a Thunderbird 1200 socket.
Mhm.
Was it socket A yet?
Believe so, yeah.
I don't remember if it was on 462.
No,
or
no, it
if
was
something-
370.
Was
Well,
it
it was super. Wait,
They
No,
don't call it a
Athlon
case.
was-
Athlon would be.
A
no,
K.
the Athlon was slot A, then socket A. So
Okay,
yes,
so it's a
your
socket.
Thunderbird was
It's a
Yeah.
socket A.
socketed chip.
Yeah.
It comes.
Oh, I
it
was
has
thinking
the
of
original cooler in the
chip
box
set.
and everything. It's delightful, and so
The
rare.
last board I
never
had
find
was a
AMD
case
processors in the
set.
box below the Athlon XP. Intel ones come
All
out
right.
the butt, but yeah. All right, let's take the stream down. Thanks everybody.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Good
Good
night.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody.